think too, kind of what you kind of said right there about, developing this skill. And I think, we talk about this all the time. Speed is a skill. And I think that a lot of people in today's world don't really value speed as a skill. They think that, oh, we're going to run some wind sprints, or, hey, we're going to take 2 laps around the track and that's enough. But I want you to elaborate on teaching speed, the phases of speed, being in the correct postures, ground reaction forces, just being a younger kid, learning how, the fundamental mechanics of sprinting. Not really necessarily we're doing elongated ladder drills or some of the things that you see on the internet, but and I know we've talked about this, is just developing the overall team speed and having each individual be accountable for their speed.
Yeah. So I think the first thing you've got to do is you've got to break down sprint speed to its constructs. And then try to figure out how to relate that to youth sport athletes. So if we look at what allows somebody to be faster at an adult age or, mature Olympic level type of sprint, you're looking at ground reaction forces absolutely limit your ability to run fast. So we know that genetics obviously plays a role. We do know that you have gravity that you've got to overcome. You've got wind resistance, but then you have ground reaction forces, which essentially is how much force can you put into the ground and tolerate coming back into the body so you can project yourself down the field or down the track. So that last nugget, ground reaction force, is what we currently consider tied to rate of force development. So it's how explosive you are. It's how fast you can produce your force. So that is related to how strong you are. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the stronger you are, the faster you run. A lot of people misconstrue that. And so obviously stronger people can tolerate forces. You think about the NFL, we think about as we age in our population, stronger people are more resilient and have better balance. I mean, there is a host of reasons why strength matters. But again, the stronger you are relative to your body mass, you can hold better positions as far as your posture. When you sprint, you can orient yourself in a better position to allow your body to express itself quickly. So again, that's kind of the relationship strength has to speed. So we kind of know these guiding constructs of sprint speed, the limitations of how fast you can run. But then we try to distill it down into training programs. And then we also go further and then try to figure out what's the best thing you can do for a child as they go through maturity. The number one thing that you cannot stop a child from doing is running. Classically speaking, I come from a track and field background that's short to long, meaning we want to develop acceleration first before we get into top speed. Really what that means is I wanted to develop the skill of acceleration. I want to be able to have that athlete hold a really good posture long through the torso, be able to mimic that angle with the shin as it delivers down and back into the track. But that requires body strength. And so what you're thinking about is, if I'm a parent and I'm looking at a way to develop my child's athleticism as it relates to speed, obviously, I want them to go run in the yard. I want them to play pickup, tag. I'm not going to stop that. And there's no way to control form when they're just having fun. But what you want to do is for them to rehearse and become aware of proper positions, such as essentially starting with wall drills, leaning into the wall, bracing with a long, tall posture. I always call it Mary Poppins posture, where it's almost like you can hold a book on your head. And then just drive the knees through the hips, just drive the knee to the wall. And then again, popping off the ground. So, starting with that, A-walks. So just very good posture, keeping your hips underneath your shoulders. Again, Mary Poppins posture, just being able to walk and hold positions there. A lot of the things that I do right now with my children and a youth soccer team I coach is we use the dowel or PVC runs over step hurdles just to get them to understand how to maintain that posture and control and stepping over their ankle, kind of like dribbling, like what some coaches call. So again, it's understanding that the youth sport athlete doesn't have the requisite strength, so to speak, but you're taking opportunities that you can and exposing them to proper posture so that as their strength stabilizes through the maturation process, they can hold those positions better. So my idea is expose it to them early before it's too late, when the coaches at the college level and professional level have to start over again. And so again, another aspect is you feel like, you want to see that happen quickly, but parents have to understand that, especially going through that peak height velocity curve, sometimes kids look like they're moving well and performing well on the field. And as soon as they hit that point in their growth, they're awkward, they're clumsy, it looks like they're backtracking. Right. So again, parents have to understand that too, that, there's going to be a point as a child matures that their form and skill is going to fall back. And so as a coach, as you kind of have to start reapplying the basics again. Absolutely. To make sure that they can control that during this awkward stage of development. So, to me, it's understanding how the body matures, what's going to happen with motor skill development that coincides with that process. And as a coach, being able to go advanced and back to basic again, to catch that athlete at all points.
And we talked about, the more that we can focus on teaching speed as a skill versus just kind of going on the field doing, odds and, just like we said, having a direction for the athlete versus just throwing out random drills. So maybe, starts, acceleration, like you talked about, working some max velocity in there so that we have kind of a schedule for our athletes, not really just throwing random stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. Am I right?
Absolutely. You want to have a curriculum. The thing that I tell other parents is that, myself as a parent, coaches are no different than a teacher. We have to have a curriculum. And so if we can acknowledge that sprinting is a skill, that kicking a soccer ball is a skill, running with a stick is a skill, you have to be able to create a curriculum that exposes the athlete to that. It could either be segmental, so it could be whole, part, whole, it could be linear, it could be non-linear. That's up to the coach and how they understand best practices within their training theory. But again, what you want parents to understand is this is no different than signing your child up for piano lessons, guitar lessons, chess. This is a long-term investment. And so the athlete needs to be exposed to it consistently in pieces that they can absorb and then replicate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.